US and Europe issue ultimatum to Putin.
Senior US and EU officials are reportedly discussing the possibility of issuing an ultimatum to Russian President Vladimir Putin, demanding he agree to a 30-day ceasefire in the war in Ukraine. Leaders of the UK, France, Germany and Poland are set to arrive in Kyiv on Saturday, May 10th, to meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and demonstrate unity. They will discuss a proposed 30-day ceasefire. If Russia refuses, new sanctions will be imposed. The visit comes one day after Russian President Vladimir Putin hosted global leaders at the Victory Day military parade. The summit in Ukraine will focus on the US and European proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in the Ukraine war. If Moscow rejects the offer, the attending countries plan to jointly enforce new sanctions, according to a French diplomatic source, who added that the proposal is still under final review. This joint visit by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz and Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk marks the first time leaders of all four nations have travelled together to Ukraine. Together with the United States, we call on Russia to agree to a full and unconditional 30-day ceasefire to create space for negotiations toward a just and lasting peace, the four European leaders said in a joint statement. The four foreign leaders will meet with President Zelensky on Saturday morning and are also expected to visit a memorial in central Kyiv to honour Ukrainian soldiers who died in the war. They are also scheduled to hold an online meeting with other leaders to update them on the progress being made toward the formation of a future coalition of air, land and naval forces, along with a reconstruction plan aimed at rebuilding Ukraine's armed forces after any potential peace agreement, according to the UK's Downing Street. The visit comes at a time of unpredictable diplomacy in the more than 3-year-long war. US President Donald Trump is pushing for a swift peace deal, having overturned his predecessor's policies since taking office in January. After direct communication with Russian officials, a public dispute with President Zelensky, and a brief suspension of critical military aid to Ukraine, the Trump administration has since mended ties with Kyiv and signed a hard-fought mineral agreement. There has also been a notable shift in tone from President Trump, who has signalled growing frustration with President Putin's delay in agreeing to a ceasefire, and Russia's continued insistence on its conditions for a resolution. Trump has threatened to escalate sanctions on Russia, but has also said he may abandon peace efforts if no breakthrough is achieved. He called for a 30-day ceasefire on Thursday, and Zelensky said he would be ready to implement it immediately. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Friday that Russia supports the implementation of a 30-day ceasefire in the conflict, but only if proper consideration is given to the nuances. President Putin hosted Chinese President Xi Jinping and other leaders at a military parade on Red Square on Friday to mark the 80th anniversary of the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany in World War II, sending a defiant message that he is not isolated. Russia had proposed a ceasefire from May 8th to May 10th, but Ukraine did not accept it. Both sides have accused each other of violating the ceasefire. On Thursday, President Zelensky said he told President Trump in a phone call that a 30-day ceasefire would be a real indicator of progress toward peace with Russia, and that Kyiv was ready to implement it immediately. A French diplomatic source said that work is still ongoing on the proposal for an unconditional 30-day ceasefire, but the US and its European allies hope they are at a convergence point. What could happen in the coming hours and days might be the announcement of a 30-day ceasefire or a phased version of it. This is still under discussion, the source said. Merz, who became Germany's chancellor this week, said on Friday that the ball is now in Moscow's court. It is only there where the decision will be made as to whether there is a chance, starting from the end of this weekend, that is, the beginning of next week, to allow for a longer ceasefire in Ukraine, he said.